we would talk about work-life balance. Where does this tie into the definition of success? So Mary Barra, many of you may know, is a CEO of General Motors and has transformed that company in an amazing way. She talks about her definition of success as creating value. And value is defined in her mind as innovation, customer-focused, efficient operations, corporate responsibility, not just to the clients, but also to your employees, to your staff, to your team, and to yourself, and to your company. If we're going to want to transform and empower our body and our abilities for success, we need to own our company as something more special than a place we go to work. We want to change that environment to something you own. Financial performance, somebody had mentioned, we need to have success, we need to have outcomes, right? But the last thing she mentions is she mentions value in not just work, not just home, but in our personal life. Value through balance, making priorities. Sometimes our kids have to be our priorities. Sometimes our husband has to be our priority. Sometimes our work has to come before everything else. As a physician, my family knew, my children knew there are times that my patients took priorities. I'll never forget, my husband said, Andria, there are nurses in the hospital that can take care of those patients. Sometimes I needed to be there. So being present, but being flexible, being dynamic in your life. So the way I look at this is not work-life balance, because that's kind of boring. It's finding your way home. What should your home look like? And that home can be at work, and it can be at home, but it also needs to be in your heart and the way you interact with people. Home should be a place of peace, happiness, patience, love, guidance, support, motivation, knowledge, sharing, enables you to work through strengths and weaknesses and allowing for your colleagues, your family members, your spouse to be able to work through their strengths and weaknesses. You know, it's interesting, you're going to be going through this too in just a minute. A place where we receive intellectual, emotional, physical, nutritional, and spiritual support and growth. Where we're able to evolve into our own person. Establish your identity, your goals, and ultimately your purpose. Because we each were born and created for a purpose. So on that sheet of paper, there's questions. And I want you to think about those questions. What are your top priorities? What are your values? How do we find our way home if we don't know what our top priorities are and our values? And sometimes we think about, my values are my family and my kids, but what comes first? Where do we really put and align those things? And what about our strengths and our weaknesses? So when I ask my patients and my clients to work through their weaknesses and their strengths, because it's not just about healing the body, but it's about healing the mind and the soul. And if we don't connect with that, we're never going to find our way home. So with regards to strength and weaknesses, and I filled out my shirt, I asked Emma, who's my executive manager for Shield of Life, and I asked my husband, what do you think my weaknesses are? Because sometimes we like to see ourselves better than we are or worse than we are. So it's good to get our friends and our family and the people we love to say, help me see my weaknesses. And you know, both of them said to me, Andrea, you give too much time. But part of the thing as a physician I value is when you come and see me, I don't want you to feel like I'm racing you out of my door. I want you to hear that I hear you. I want you to know that I love you and that I care and that I expect transformation because I'm going to give you everything I got. And I'm not playing games here because this is important. Our purpose in life, we get one life and one chance to transform and one chance to make a difference in the people and the places we live, like Ormond Beach. So take that seriously when you look at your strengths and your weaknesses. What about physical? How are you guys doing? How's your health? You know, as business women, as entrepreneurs, as people that work for companies, we often forget our health, but we can't. And we can't let our husbands forget their health because you know what? It's fun to grow old together. It's sad when we grow old alone. So let's work together to become as healthy as we can together. Mental health. We sometimes don't think about that, but am I happy? Are you really happy? Spiritual health. We took God out of school, but man, I'm sorry, you can't take him out of life. We lose that. You can't take God out of our lives. God is so important. And you know, the interesting thing is my vets and my people that I care for, a lot of times they know I talk about this and I let them bring it up. I don't teach religion, but I make sure you have a relationship with God. And they're like, you know what, Doc, we talked about this. Can we talk about it again? Yes, we can. Because you know what? If you don't do it now, at the end of your life, you're going to be asking big questions. And it's not that it's ever too late, but why not start now? Because that's going to guide your way home. And you're going to be more successful and more dynamic in how you create, and your passion will be so amazing. So what is work life? And what is your purpose? What is your true purpose? And that may change in different stages of your life. So this is what I wrote about me. And I don't need you to read through it. I'm not going to go through it. But the reality is I need you to do that for you. And I need you to ask your children and your husband and your friends and the people you love. Because you know what? This is what makes us drive our purpose and our transformation for the people we love most and the places we live. So now I'm going to ask you this next question. What is your greatest asset? And I need answers on this one. I want you to raise your hand and tell me, what is your greatest asset? Come on, girls. Come on, ladies and men.
I think mine's my passion.
Passion. I love it. Organization. Excellent. Uplifting. I love it. Balance. Beautiful. And we know you need that one. Tenacity. I love it. Anyone else? Confidence. Beautiful. All right. I got something. Where do all these things that you just mentioned come from? Our brain. Our brain. Optimal brain health isn't just personal wellness. It's a corporate strategy for influencing creativity and adaptability. That was published in 1124 in Inspira. I always have to think through this magazine, but it's very famous, Inspirepreneur magazine. Very, very important. If our brain isn't healthy, how can we make creativity, innovation, love, motivation, purpose? We can't. Understanding how and what we put in depends on what comes out, right? It impacts the output, the emotions, the thought, the actions, the creativity, and the innovations. So where do these inputs come from? The inputs come from the world around us, but the inputs also come from our own body, our brainstem, our own brain, our periphery, and the dynamic systems that have a dynamic interplay within our body. And we're going to talk about 5 very important ones, not that there aren't more, but the biggest thing is it all goes to the brain, and from the brain, that's who we are, and it's driving our way home. So, our brain coordinates thoughts, emotions, memories, movements, actions, behaviors, sensory awareness, immune homeostasis, keeping us from getting sick and inflamed. Systems health, systematic health of the overall body, and longevity. Now, your pathway home is the most important is these bidirectional pathways that impact the brain and the output. So, the brain receives information from the spinal cord and the periphery and itself. The brain also receives a lot of information from the gut. The brain receives information from muscles, from heart, and from the immune system, but this is bidirectional. Now, let's look, and we're going to focus on each one of these 5 systems over the next 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, okay? So what we put into our head, we're going to talk about input. We're going to talk about rest, recoil, and reset, the power of sleep. And we're going to talk about the power of oxygenating our brain through our nose and why that's so important to heal. So input. hearing, what we see, what we read, the media, the TV, all of this is so powerful. And we know this because we told our kids, if you have children, what you hear is what you become. What you do and who you hang out with is what you become and how you respond. So hang out with better people than yourself, right? I'm a runner. I'm not going to be training for Boston if I don't run with somebody faster than me. So I got my friend here who's helping me train, right? So the reality is you got to hang out with people better, and that means you got to fill your brain with things that are better than negativity. Not some bad music, not some bad movie, not something that's negative, but something that inspires you to take that back to work, to take that back home. But hey, what about taking it back to you? How many times do we tell ourselves negative things? I don't look good in this dress. I don't look good like that. I'm not this. I'm not. Sorry. You're beautiful. And God created you perfectly. But you have to see it. And you have to empower yourself with that wisdom and that knowledge. Because that input will give you strength to love the people around you, no matter how ugly they are sometimes. God bless them. Right? So, the power of self-talk impacts mental health and performance at work and home. When we engage in healthy motivational self-talk, this improves focus, it improves mental health, it improves decision-making, creativity, and leadership. Now, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to make positive change. Oops. Uh-oh. What did I do? I think I did this. Should I do it? Whoops. This is not my forte. Technology. Or maybe it is. See there? I got this. It is my forte. Amen to that. You see, God was just saying, are you listening to me? Yes, I'm listening. I'm sorry. Okay, let's look at this. Evidence from research. Science report in 2021, positive self-talk on an fMRI for functional medicine MRI. It said it activates motivation, reward, and executive function in areas of our brain. So you see, when we talk to ourselves in a good way, you see what happened? I just was able to change that film. And I was thinking, no way, I'm not going to do this. All these people are staring at me. I did. Look at that. Healthy criticism, when it's directed healthy criticism, it actually motivates and boosts motivation and attention. So like when my husband gave me that criticism, it wasn't criticism. When Emma gave me her input, it wasn't criticism. They helped me make more decisions so that I could spend more time loving more people and helping more people heal. So it was healthy. And when we're able to receive input from others that might come across critical, maybe they're not being critical. Maybe we're so insecure that we take it as criticism when we shouldn't. Maybe somebody's just trying to help you. So we got to think about that at work. We got to think about when we deliver a message, is this person going to take it negatively or not? Let me make sure they take it in a positive way. And let me remind them of all the good things they have. So the dynamics in the workplace, but also within ourselves, we need to remember that sometimes we need to give each other positive and negative motivational changes to be our best. So healthy criticism affects the nucleus accumbens. So very important. This is not just made up and people at work telling you to be motivational and stuff. There's science behind this, ladies. There's science behind this. And men. So let's talk about sleep. Rest, sleep time, duration, and cognitive performance. So we're going to talk about chronotypes for a second. There are two types of chronotypes. There are those people that go to bed early and those people who go to bed late. The early people go to bed between 8 and 10. The late people go to bed between 11 and 1, 2. And if some of my patients like to go to bed 3 and 4. And I don't know what about the 11 o'clock news. We're going to have to get that changed because it's not healthy. Okay? So the late chronotypes, and we got to think about this for our children because they're up on their phones all night long. The late chronotypes are linked to low cognitive function, lower cognitive function. Not only that, but in children, it's associated with reduced verbal and math scores and weight gain. But weight gain not just in children, in adults too. Some of my people that come and see me from all over the place, first thing I ask them, not their diet, Because it's not about diet only. That's a small part of it. But what time do you go to bed? You got to go to bed on time. And there's a timing and a duration that's so very important. Sleep time is nonlinear. It's a U-shaped curve. If you go to bed too early and you go to bed too late, it's not going to help you. You need to go to bed right on time. And the time clock that God designed was based on the rising and setting of the sun. We are not nocturnal creatures, even though people like to think we are. We're not. So that 7 to 9 hours is what the sleep time we're supposed to. And we need to be in bed by 10 and asleep by 11. Now, I know people will fight you on it, especially if the football season's around, right? Basketball season around, everybody's staying up watching that stuff. You got to say, we can videotape it. We don't have to stay up. Because you know what? My health is important and your health is important. But more important than your health, your brain. Because I don't want my assets going to pay for you in a nursing home. Okay? Or me in a nursing home. So you know what? Our assets, you guys are working hard. You don't waste that money. And don't waste it on a hospital or in a nursing home. Come on. You got to put energy into how this is going to function for the rest of your life and your kids' lives. So chronotypes matter. People that get up earlier have better cognitive performance, sleep quality, resilience, and mental health. So we got to shift that time clock. Take away, brain works on consistency and predictability. You don't want to be shifting that time clock. Every once in a while you're out partying because you're on a holiday. That's okay. But the reality is we need to be consistent. Patterns matter. You need time to rest, and you need a healthy time to rise. Rising with the sun, you can have the Joe in your hand. No sugar in that coffee, girls. Okay? But you want to be grateful. Grateful for that sunrise, and God's blessed you with one more day on the ground. So, let's talk about breathing. Let's talk about what happens when we breathe. When we breathe, we're going to talk about the brain waves first. There are major brain waves. Beta brain waves is when we're awake. Alpha brain waves is when we're in meditation state. Theta brain waves is light sleep and meditation. And delta is when we're in a deep sleep. We're not dreaming. In the deepest sleep, we're paralyzed. And that is when the brain goes to recover us. And if we don't get into that deep sleep, guess what? That back pain is going to continue to be more painful. That knee pain that you keep wanting to go away is not going to work because the brain goes to heal us when we're in that paralytic delta phase of sleep. Now, there's another phase that's not on this list, and that's gamma waves. That is the most powerful time when our brain is so active and so innovative and so creative. Okay? We want to find that time and we want to maximize it, especially when we're at work. The highest brainwave frequency, and it focuses on thinking and conscious awareness and innovation. The physical benefits of this is that this will increase when we increase nitric oxide. Do you guys know what nitric oxide is? Nitric oxide stimulates vasodilation, and when you stimulate vasodilation, guess what? Blood's flowing a lot faster. Okay? And when blood's flowing a lot faster, that lowers blood pressure. So people come to me and say, Dr. Klioze, you know, my blood pressure goes up. I said, well, what about if we relax? What if we increase the parasympathetic nervous system? Because when you take a big breath in and you hold your breath and you lower that diaphragm, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, do you guys know the difference between what the autonomic nervous system is? So the autonomic nervous system is the sympathetic. That's the fight or flight when the saber-toothed tiger is chasing us. The other one's the parasympathetic nervous system when we relax. So when we go to pray and we meditate, we're instilling a state of relaxation. But that's when there's greater cognitive flow to the brain to improve our ability to think and be creative. So there was a study in 18,500 adults, and they found that women with sleep apnea had a higher risk of dementia, and it worsened with age. So I know none of us want to wear those masks, but you know what? You can be the sexy Darth Vader too. I always tell my husband, you're a sexy Darth Vader, man. You're so sexy. Because you know what? I want him to be here. We've been married 30 years. I want him to be here 50 years from now. I don't want to be alone, but if I need to wear the mask, I need to wear the mask. It is what it is. And what they found is when women put the oxygen on their own face, that they were living longer and it delayed cognitive decline, delayed the dementia. So get tested if you need to be tested. But the gamma oscillations in the prefrontal cortex of our brain, increasing breathing cycle and cognitive performance and wakefulness. So when we increase that flow, it enhances neurocognition. So I want you guys to take a minute, and I'm going to count to 5, and I want you to hold your breath, but I want you to breathe through your nose. So close your mouth. We're going to take a deep breath through our nose and give our brain a hug, and then I'm going to count to 5 through the 1000s, okay? Here we go. Breathe in through your nose. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000, 4, 1000, 5, 1000, and slowly breathe out through closed mouth or through your nose. Now you just gave your brain a hug. And if you can do that as much as you can throughout the day, when things are slow, take that breath in and breathe out and do it as much as you can. When I run and I train, qualified for Boston 3 times because of healthy eating and active life and doing my prayers. So hopefully we'll get in this year. We'll find out. But the reality is I breathe and train through my nose, in and out of my nose. And people say, how do you breathe in and out of your nose? Because I'm increasing vasodilation to my muscles and my brain. And I want to make sure I'm performing at a higher level or at my max potential. So let's look at the gut. The gut is a very powerful place. Oh my gosh, here I go again. Thank you, Lord. Okay, here we go. The second brain, our second brain, is actually the nervous system, the enteric nervous system that comes from the gut. It has over 100 million neurons and nerve cells, and it works in conjunction with our brain. So our gut, if you want to keep your brain healthy, you got to keep your gut healthy. So we got to think about how we're going to feed that gut. Now, the vagus nerve is a superhighway of the gut-brain connection. The microbes in that gut, they produce short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids decrease inflammation to our brain and to our whole body. But guess what? When we're eating bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, and diet sodas, we are not driving anti-inflammation. We're driving inflammation to our brain. So we need to get rid of that stuff. And soda is bad, guys. Diet soda is even worse. And man, it kills your kidney and your liver. And I watched that through my own people. And I took them off of it. I said, I got to get off this stuff. These kidneys are turning around. These livers are turning around. And yet you're never going to hear that from science. You're never going to hear that from publications. It's starting to come around. But you guys, don't be fools. This is a direct highway to the brain. Don't drink that stuff. And don't let your kids drink that stuff. So bile activity and those short-chain fatty acids that are produced by the gut bacteria, they actually connect from the side of the intestine to decrease inflammation to the brain. So guess what? Have you ever you're nervous about something and you get a stomach ache? That's because the brain's sending signals, and that's why we get a stomach ache. But how many of you know people that have inflammatory bowel disease? And they got emotional traumas, man. They got some stress in their life. So you know what? We need to calm down the emotional stress in their lives because that's going to help their gut heal. And they need to drive in anti-inflammation to their brain. Healthy gut bacteria are fueled by vegetables. You guys, I have a beat-up minivan because I garden. Okay, my whole backyard is a food forest because I need you guys to understand how powerful it is to change your yards into regenerative farming to save our earth, but also to heal you. So, people come to my house, they say, oh my gosh, you grow everything. I say, yes, we do. And I feed my gut because I'm feeding my brain, the most powerful thing I have. So microbiome. What does a microbiome do? That's the gut bacteria, right? They're called microbiome. It helps regulate they make neurotransmitters. Wait a minute, Dr. Klioze. Neurotransmitter, is that something in the brain? Yeah, but the gut bacteria make it. The brain makes it too, but so does the gut bacteria. The gut bacteria regulate our mood and our motility and inflammation. It helps regulate depression and anxiety. They think one of the most reasons why we have major depression and anxiety in our world right now is because we're feeding our gut crap. And okay, I got a thing about stool testing. Don't spend money on stool testing. If you're eating crap, it's going to come out like crap. You just wasted a lot of money. And it's stupid science, just a lot of money. We don't do that. So the reality is you just got to eat right, and then you don't worry about testing your stool. Synthesize. The gut bacteria synthesizes B and K vitamins. So we have 8 B vitamins. We have 8 K vitamins, 4 tocotrienols and 4 tocopherols. But how do those bacteria, our bacteria in our gut make them? Now, we get them from food too, but the gut bacteria make a lot of those B vitamins. So in the beginning, when I start seeing people, we might supplement a little bit of B vitamins, but once you transform, you don't need those supplements because you're eating right. God gave us what you need. You don't need to be taking all these chemicals and all these supplements, and nothing is as powerful as God's nutrients. So how do these nutrients get absorbed when we do take them? Water absorption comes, when we drink more water, the water-soluble vitamins, which are your B and your C vitamins, actually absorbed more readily. Fat-soluble vitamins, when we eat our nuts and our seeds, now we don't have to be eating a hamburger, but we can eat our nuts and our seeds, and those fat-soluble vitamins, D, E, K, and A, in medicine we call that DECA, so you can remember, what are the fat-soluble vitamins? Ooh, if I'm taking a vitamin D, I better make sure I'm eating some egg yolk with that egg, okay? If I want to get those E vitamins that are good for fighting cancer and for my eyes, I need to be taking in healthy fats. If I want K vitamins to help my bone and my teeth and not get calcium stuck in the walls of the vessel, that's why we take K2, but K2 doesn't have to be taken with D. People think they do. They don't need to be taken together because they work differently. And you may want to raise somebody's D level, but you don't have to raise their K level. So you take them separately. And then A. A is very good for our eyes. Okay? And then how do we get those minerals absorbed? The minerals like calcium and iron and zinc and magnesium, phosphorus, those come in through the gut bacteria. But if your gut bacteria are not good and healthy, they're not going to absorb those. So you're going to be deficient. So your hair may not be healthy, your skin may be a little ashy. You know what? That's because we're not eating right. And we're not feeding our gut bacteria what they need so that we have healthy gut bacteria. Because that's what helps your head heal, is when the gut bacteria is healthy. Because if you feed yourself bad food, you're not going to have healthy gut bacteria. So let's look at B vitamins really quickly. It supports cellular health, energy production, metabolism, the reduced free radicals, which is a whole nother lecture, but that's what induces systemic inflammation and causes so many diseases. Maintain gut lining and decreases intestinal inflammation. It helps the nerves and the brains, crucial brain synthesis. It helps with gene expression, DNA and RNA. And your K vitamins, as we talked about, helps with bone health, helps with prevent clotting, helps decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease and also cancer. So you got to eat healthy. Soda and artificial sweeteners, we already kind of talked about that. Just 2 sodas a day, just 2, destroys 9 essential gut bacteria species and raises your risk for diabetes, obesity, and cholesterol. Now, you saw that was in a European study, okay? Artificial sweeteners, they're bad. They destroy the gut bacteria. All these diet drinks, all these diet things, zero, that's crap. That is bad for you. God gave us water. Look at this. He gave us water, and it's free. But we got to honor it. So don't waste it. Don't let that shower run and you not get in it. Don't waste water. We're blessed in Florida, but there are many places that don't have enough water. It's a blessing. High saturated fat, refined sugars, fried foods, baked goods. How many times we bring baked goods to the office? I'm watching you. I want you to bring healthy vegetables. Heal your brain. Heal your friends' brains. Heal your kids' brains. It's important. Eat more vegetables. Now, you don't have to be vegetarian, but you got to eat more vegetables. People say, Dr. Klioze, I don't like vegetables. Well, that's why you're in my office. You see? You see, it's not easy. It's not rocket science here. My dad was a rocket scientist. I'm not. But you guys can be smart too, okay? Now, what's really important is that you understand that you would never put water in your Ferrari car. Or in your car, I have a beat-up minivan. I'm not going to put water in my beat-up minivan, right? I'm going to put good fuel in it so it lasts longer. So don't put crappy fuel in your car. Don't put crappy fuel in your colleagues and your friends' cars by bringing crap to the office. Teach them how to eat well. Be the inspirer of change. It's important. And you know, some people say, Dr. Klioze, you're kind of intense, you know? You're kind of intense. And the reason why I'm intense is because if your kid is about to be hit by a Mack truck, you're not going to say, Johnny, get out of the street. Juliana, get out of the street. You're going to grab their ass and pull them out of the street, right? So you know what? I'm going to be intense. I'm not going to play around. And I'm not going to say, yes, those beers are okay that you're drinking at night and all that wine you drink every night is good. No, it's not. It's your brain. It's your money that you work so hard for. Don't put it away. Honor it. Take more vacations with your family, for goodness sake. The soda is not worth it. And neither is the hamburger and all those beers that just make a beer belly, okay? Or what I like to call a bear belly because it sounds cuter. But anyways, we got to make real change. We got to fill our offices and our homes with healthy foods and drinks. We got to learn how to love water and healthy vegetables. Dr. Klioze, water is so boring. Well, that's because the food industry makes you hate it. But that's not how we were designed. Do you realize 150 years ago, the amount of sugar we had in the whole year was one soda? How we've changed. How we've been manipulated. You guys get an attitude about that. I'm not going to be manipulated. Nobody's going to tell me how to live. I'm going to live the way God designed me to live. But that means we have to seriously make that change. We have to stop eating snacks if you don't need them. And if you got a little badunkadunk or a little extra thigh man or a little extra belly, you don't need the snacks, okay? Eat real meals. You don't need to be a vegetarian to protect your brain. Protect those you love from deteriorating brains. Support a valuable asset, which is your brain. Next thing, we're going to look at muscles. It's important to understand that exercise is so important. Memory decisions, protects against dementia, increased BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor that stimulates neurogenesis. When we exercise, it improves flow of blood flow, angiogenesis. It increases synaptogenesis. Exercise is powerful. Reduce stress. It enhances creativity. It's so important, but you got to be consistent. You guys at work, you can have stand-up desks. I have a stand-up desk at work. You can do this. You can do 10-minute walk breaks. There's 10-minute smoking breaks. You can take a 10-minute walk break, okay? Yoga is important for mindfulness and innovation. Exercise supports muscle-brain axis. It supports the gut-brain axis. It reduces inflammation, and it supports the immune axis that we're going to talk about in a minute. Now, these are my girlfriends that keep me on track, and it induces regular exercise and fiber. It's so important. Increases bowel motility, increases strength in intestinal lining. It decreases diverticulosis, colorectal cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, obesity, and the more diverse our gut bacteria, the longer we're going to live because it's associated with longevity. Exercise. There was a great study between athletes, rugby athletes, and their colleagues, their peers that did not exercise. And what they found in these rugby athletes is the fact that when they exercised, there was a better performance mentally and physically. And what they found in addition to that, there was less inflammatory markers, but there was an increase of 4 major bacteria. These are the good bacteria. Bacterocytides, the F. paraxanthia, Firmicutes, and Akkermansia. And every single one of them, they increase short-chain fatty acids, they decrease inflammation, they improve the tight junctions. When our guts, cells, have leaky gut, that's how type 1 diabetes and autoimmune disease occur. And I see a lot of metabolic disorders. A lot of these autoimmune patients will come to me. Rheumatology will send them to me. And I got a lot of people from all over the place that come to me because of leaky gut. And the way we tighten them up is we start eating more vegetables. It's so important that you understand that. It helps restore, it helps decrease weight, it helps so many disorders, cholesterol, diabetes, and it improves mental health. Exercise frequency, type, and intensity is so very important. Now let's talk about the heart, how the heart and the brain work together. If we have an inflamed system and we're depressed, it actually increases our risks for arrhythmias. In just this year in February in neuroscience, they found that when we had poor heart health, it increased our risk for dementia and Parkinson's disease. So all that atrial fib, all that inflammation in the heart actually sends inflammation to the brain. So we got to pay attention. We got to get on track. But you can fix it. You don't have to worry that it's a problem. You can stabilize heart disease. How? By increased exercise. That improves brain health, reducing neurodegenerative disorders. So make sure, commit to an exercise. You can either pay now, and that gym may look expensive, but let me tell you, that nursing home's a lot more expensive in years to come. Let's talk about the immune system. The immune system and the brain communicate constantly, maintaining homeostasis and decreasing inflammation. But if our body has inflammation, we have strokes, dementia, depression, Parkinson's disease, autoimmune diseases. Chronic systemic inflammation leads to immune and brain disconnect. It is so important that you understand homeostasis and health balance. All right, so we talked a lot about science and health. Let's put it all together and talk more about the innovation, confidence, wealth, and the fastest way that we can get home. So it's very important that you understand that we shape the inputs that we put into our brain. It's important that we have intentional thinking in our own hearts. We're positive in our own minds about ourselves and believe that we can achieve and transform anything, no matter who we are. We can all do it. And we can do it in this city and in this county. We can make a change. We can be the change. Be mindful about what you say to yourself and the people you love and your team when you work together. Make sure that this will impact power, and also you don't want to be harmful. You want to make sure you're being mindful the way you speak and the way you interact with others so you can be the positive person in your work environment and be the motivator. Make sure you understand sleep and nasal breathing. Give that brain a hug. Make sure you choose healthy foods that boost your energy and your productivity. Make sure that you move and exercise and be committed to it. Start every day and add more change to your life. Monitor your well-being. We analyze our financial assets. You guys, every day, check on that sheet that I gave you. What am I doing to drive positive behavioral change? Where are my weaknesses? How can I get them stronger? But don't be mean to yourself. Don't say, I can't be that person that changes. Yes, you can. If I did it, you can do it. You're no different than I am, and God loves you just as much as He loves me. We can do this. And we can do it ourselves and in our towns and in our cities, in our workspace and in our families. Lead by motivation. Innovation starts with you. Now, you can join the Shield of Life movement. You know, when I was president of our county medical society, before I came president, how many people know about the blue zones? Okay, so I called Dan Buhner and his brother John Buhner before I was president of our county medical society back in about 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And I said, listen, I want to bring blue zones to Volusia County. And they're like, well, Dr. Klioze, you realize it's about, several $1 million per city. And, there's a lot of wealthy people in our counties and our city. But why would I take their money if the people don't have an intention to change? So what I did was I built Shield of Life. Because if I teach you the science behind transformation, then we don't have to wait for a blue zone and pay them all this money. We can be the money. We can drive systems like farms that are regenerative farmers that enhance the earth and decrease that global warming that impacts so much of our lives. We can support the farmers. We can go to the restaurants and you can go and you can pick Shield of Life healthy foods that change you. You can go to the gyms that institute more of a motivational change for exercise, because our protocols, nutrition is our exercise protocol. It's cardiovascular, resistance training, plyometrics, and stretching, and there's science behind each one of those exercise protocols. We can institute more understanding of pulmonary medicine to get people taking those sleep apnea masks and breathing more from our noses and getting more activities involved outside. We can push more vegetable options. Not just that we can't have the desserts once in a while, but they should be special treats, just like when we drink. Not every night, every day. That harms us, okay? We need to understand this. Let's be part of this transformation so that we build transformation here. Be the change. Let's make our city and our county a place of health, success, and wealth. You guys, we don't have to wait. We can do it now. And we can be a beacon of light in Volusia County and in the state of Florida. You know, they come to Florida and they say, oh yeah, they eat hamburgers and French fries and iced tea. We can be a place of health. We can be of transformation. And we can all do it in our homes, in our churches, in our work, and where we live, and be grateful and love each other. No division. We're all one family. We're all one place. We're a place where we heal. There's data. I wanted to mention this last. This approach to support has been supported by research showing that employees and community wellness directly enhances creativity, innovation, and economic success. And this was published March of this year. And the outcomes of that data showed that when people changed their life and ate healthier, there was 20% increased productivity at businesses, 56% reduction in absentees, 16% boost in employee satisfaction, and higher retention rates, especially among financially stressed employees. You guys, we can do this, but it has to start here. Don't wait for the wealthy people to bring stuff in. We got to change. We got to do the change. They can support, but we have to want this. We want the knowledge and the behavior and the love to each other. We're one family here. We're one place, and we can actually make change together to make this transform. So, God has a plan for you, every single one of us, and you can achieve it. We'll find balance in life, internal happiness and peace, and when you align with this purpose, whatever it is, and only you know, it's you and the great Lord only know that purpose, but it's going to get you home a lot faster. And that place where you find your inner peace, that home, is going to be beautiful. And you're going to bloom like you've never seen before. So, you can find us. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're in the Doctor's Inn. We've been there for at least 18 years. And now Flagler Voice, who's here to videotape for us. We're going to be driving more education out through them. So, I'll take questions. Thank you for being here. Any questions? Yeah?
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm Melissa Bauman. I'm a registered dietitian. I believe 100% of what you're doing. And the businesses also will hit the finances of bringing in fruits and vegetables for snacks. And I often have clients saying, it's so expensive for fruits and vegetables. How do we get them to learn the balance, the value of eating more?
So one, we don't have to eat all the time. We're adults. We have snacks all over the place, right here, okay? So you don't need to eat snacks. And many of my patients, and when the research looks at it, it's not as expensive as you think. Now, you don't have to create this dynamic meal, and we can see how that all works, okay? But you can eat 2 large meals a day, one at lunch and a small meal at dinner. That makes a big difference. But when you do eat it, eat priority. You don't have to always buy organic, but eat your vegetables. Eat quality protein, wild-caught fish, grass-fed, grass-finished beef if you're going to eat beef, chicken, fish, and turkey. You don't need to eat excessive volumes. Grow a garden. I'll teach you. I got people who can teach you, who can come in your backyard to irrigate for you and set up your gardens for you. We have regenerative farmers that support this because you're not just helping you, you're helping your neighbors, you're helping your community. This is huge. This is not a small thing. You can impact everybody's life. So when you start eating this way, you can go to Aldi's. I love Aldi's. It's my favorite place to be. So we might see each other there if you go to Aldi's. You know, I mean, a lot of my people can't afford going to eat or buy organic, but they buy vegetables and they have transformed. Now, I'm not a big fan of cans, but they buy frozen and they can get great frozen food. So you can do it. And so the reality is make sure you put your brain first, because if you're going to invest in a nice pair of shoes and a dress, you can invest in your brain first. Forget the dress, forget the purse, and buy your vegetables. Okay? Sorry, Bill. We're talking to women here and the other men in the room. You guys know how to put down the golf clubs or whatever, but the rest of us, we got to put the purse down and buy the vegetables. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in exercise.
Do you want to, everybody, so I know everybody knows you, but just in case.
I'm a firm believer in exercise. I have been an exerciser since I was like 19 years old. I started doing it. But as we get older, I was a runner, and I can't run anymore because it bothers my joints. But I just wanted to say, what do you, as far as what would you say is a priority of the kind of exercise as we age, as we women age, are the best for our bodies?
So, excellent question. Excellent question. When we have joint pain, the water is your best friend. And I have to tell you a story. So I was in St. Thomas. My husband had work down there. And I went to join the aerobics class. And this lady, man, she was a mover and shaker in that class. And she said, and we were talking, and I said, yeah, I like to run, you know. And she said, oh, yeah, I qualified for the Olympics 3 times. And I said, how did you train? You're in St. Thomas. She goes, I train in the water. And the reason why she trained in the water, I said, how did you know to train in the water? Because they train the horses in the water. Because they don't strain and hurt their tendons and their joints. So then I looked up research. Well, you know, I got to always back everything up behind research. So I looked up the research, and there were trials of runners. And they took runners, high-performance people, world-renowned athletes, put some in the water, put some on land, and they found that the ones that are in the water performed equally as well, and if not stronger and less injury than the one on land. So you guys don't let land. Now, sometimes people say, I can't afford to go to the gym. But again, it's your asset. It's your brain. Because remember, when we looked at the lecture on the muscle overactivated the immune system, the gut, and the brain. And your heart. So all 5 of those bidirectional systems we walked through was enhanced by muscle. So that's key. Your sleep, breathing, what you tell your brain is key, but muscle is key. So Susan, that was phenomenal. And then we also sell electromagnetic frequency mats. We also rent them, and we've given them away. My company, 80% go back to help you. 20% are operating costs. We're not non-for-profit, but we chose to walk this way. So we help with electromagnetic frequency mats that decrease inflammation, heal. My husband ruptured his Achilles through those electromagnetic frequency mats. 2 weeks out, he was out of the boot. 3 weeks, he was doing squat jumps. 3 months, he was doing squat jumps back in the gym. Those devices are crazy. I'm 57. I'm not a big runner. My girlfriend's a big runner. 2 of my girlfriends back there are big runners. But the reality is I have to tell you, I qualified 3 times this year for Boston. Now, just because you qualify doesn't mean you get in. So we'll find out if I do get in. That will be a blessing. But, you know, I swear, I don't swear, but the reality is those mats have decreased my inflammation. A lot of my other girlfriends that get injured, they're not using the mats. I teach them, but I'm not going to force anyone to buy anything or use anything, even though I've given it to them many times for free. But the reality is it helps decrease inflammation. It increases circulation. It decreases systemic irritability. Pain helps with pain. So they're not cheap. They come in smaller and larger models, but you can be in the water. And we have the ocean, which is free. So water is excellent.
And I will tell you, I just want to tell you, that's how I run now, is I run in my pool in the water with a flotation device that keeps me suspended in water, and you run.
Excellent. And you have arm weights. So Hydrotone is a company you can purchase on Amazon and they have barbells that are plastic, but when you push them through the water, it will get your upper body as well as putting the straps around your ankles. So, and you can do lateral and forward. I can show you those. So they're excellent for you. So, and it helps with muscle tone and stability and your abs, because when you're doing this and you're tightening your abs, then you're going to end up having tighter abs as well. Are any other questions? Yeah, great questions. Yep.
I love the vision of wanting to be somebody in the next that's why I keep following you around.
Well, thank you for following. Amen.
So how do we, as a local community, how do we support? Do you have a source where we can support the already regenerative farmers, whether it be vegetables or meat?
We do. We have a sheet up there. You can take a picture. We printed about 5 of them, or Emma can bring you one. So the regenerative farmers, a CAM is phenomenal. You guys are more than welcome. We can set up a time. You can come see our backyard. We do open house all the time. My husband's like, she's doing open house again. But he loves to cook. Sometimes we'll cook from the garden, and let you guys taste it. I've had people hire me to do cooking classes so that you understand that. We have people signing up for our program. We have people endorsing our program and speaking for them, and that helps our program grow because we do so much outreach. And then we come together as a visionary team to help build this, and we create Shield of Life places all over the place so that we can build, Shield of Life is a crazy name. I know there are many people with various religious beliefs, so I hope I don't offend anybody. But that name came from my son. We were supposed to be Healthy Eating Active Life, but I couldn't trademark that name because there was a name in California. So I found out I didn't have to take the vaccine. It wasn't a big vaccine thing. So my son was so happy, and he called me. He said, "Great, Mom, that's awesome." And he said, "What's going on, though?" I said, "Well, I got another issue." I said, I found out that I need to change my name. And he said to me, he goes, "Well, Mom, everything you do is for God." I said, "Yes, that is right." But he always yells at me, "Mama, you can't tell everybody about Jesus," because you know what? Of course, my husband's Jewish. But so God brings you together and keeps you humble because he has directions better than you know. So my husband's an awesome guy. And so basically, he said, when the kids were little, Ephesians 6:18, there's 6 pieces of armor. And I used to give them 25 cents for every piece of armor they could remember. And so he said, "Mom, you're the shield of life. Instead of shield of faith, you're giving people back life. It's not me. I'm just a messenger. But this is bigger. Shield of Life is bigger than me." And that's the reason why I didn't use Dr. Klioze's program. It's not about me. It's about me delivering the knowledge that I have from the work that I've done to make a change that is probably meant for all of us in a humble way. So we can all be part of a transformation that transforms life. Your family's life, the people you love, saving your assets, investing in a community and in a county and in a state that we can be a beacon of light. So great question, great comment. You can invest in any other ways. Supporting us is great.
Thank you, Andrea. This is for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.